there are few players who have missed out, and one of them you could say is Nishan Madushka, right? Like for the longest time, or at least until that series in England, where he was kind of shunted up and down the order, asked to keep and open the batting. Um, he was pretty much a permanent fixture in the squad, at least for the last the few series preceding that. Doesn't find a spot in this one. Instead, you've got the likes of Lahiru Dara, Oshida Fernando um, in the side. I'm a bit, skeptical about it for the only reason that both of them are 30 plus. And Madushka is a bit younger. Sri Lanka don't have a lot of tests to come, right? Um, so I'm wondering what the thinking could be about leaving him out and bringing in two other batters who could possibly take that opening spot if Pathum Nisanka is injured. Dom, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? Because Nishan Madushka had been opening for a number of tests, and he had a tough go of it in England, which I think you can expect for any young Sri Lankan batter against pace and seam in a new place, right? He played 10 matches. His average is 33, right? So it's not great, but it's also not absolutely terrible either. And he's shown that he has talent. And strangely, they've now included him in the white ball squads for the last 3 or 4 tours as well. So we're seeing maybe a transition. Excuse me. We're seeing a transition where, you know, he's being considered a white ball player. Maybe it's something similar to what they did with Patham, where they said, okay, go work on your white ball game for a while and you can always come around to the test side. But it is weird to have the two guys jumping him in the pecking order, right? Because you would assume he goes from one of the top two to three or over 30 players, right? And Lahiru Udar is someone who's been waiting for his opportunity
Mhm.
for a long time. So I don't have anything against him, but it is also interesting because, okay, you have Lahiru Udara, you have Ashada Fernando, both 30 plus, as Estelle mentioned, but you also have Sadira in the squad,
Mhm.
right? And so you have two backup keepers in that case. And Sadira is the only really backup middle order batter that you have. So my question is, what is he doing in the squad? What's his role in the squad? What role is he hoping to play in the future? So I think, given and maybe it also is a hint to us as to what SLC is thinking for the next 2 year World Test Series, is that
Mhm.
they want to go with these guys kind of in their early 30s who've waited a while and see if they can capitalize on a good run of form rather than trying to actually blood a younger player and think 5 years in advance.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought actually, because when you think about it, it is possible that Sri Lanka lose a bit of experience going into the next cycle, right? When you've got the likes of Angelo, you've got Dimut, we've discussed about like whether they will retire, whether there will be kind of open slots opening up for other players. So it could possibly be that you want to have players who have experience, and then the likes of Oshada Fernando have played domestic cricket for a long time. Lahiru Dar, as you mentioned, has been part of the A team a lot. I feel like he's been that guy who's constantly been in the runs, but hasn't really got the big opportunities um, with Sri Lankan team. So that could possibly be the thinking as well. But no middle order options, as you mentioned, Dominic. Um, who are the other players that we could have looked at as Dom mentioned? If you consider Lahiru Udar a wicket keeping option, then you basically have two backups for Kusal Mendes, right? But if you if that is the makeup of things, could they have maybe included somebody else in the middle order instead of one of those keeping options?
Yeah, I think they could have. I mean, again, I'd be shocked if Sadira plays a part in this series. Maybe he's someone who they like to have around because he's an excellent fielder. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think you look at Surya Bandara and what he's been doing in first class cricket, a guy who's averaging on the cusp of 60, who is now 25. And I mean, I think when you look at how well both Pathum and Kamindu Mendes have done off the back of outstanding first class averages. I feel like the narrative, which maybe existed 18 months ago, that an excessive average in the Sri Lankan first class game doesn't necessarily translate to scoring runs in international cricket, has kind of dissipated a bit. And yeah, I would love to see Pasindu included in the squad sooner rather than later. And given that they've named 18 this time, I think it would have been, fair to include him. I do also think the whole Nishan Madushka issue, I can see both sides of it. That if you take out the 205 he scored against Ireland, he's kind of averaging low 20s in Test cricket. But then again, he averages 50 in first class cricket. He's done better than Lahira Udara has in first class cricket. And, before Sri Lanka went to England, he was first choice. He's now obviously slipped down, but it seems harsh to drop a Sri Lankan opener based on what they've done during a series in England. So, and yeah, as Dom said, he's now in the white ball setup. So obviously he's a player that Sanath likes. Maybe they do think that Udara or Oshada is the guy for the next World Test Championship cycle. But with these tests not meaning as much now with Sri Lanka, I mean, all but eliminated from the final this time around, I would have liked to see a couple of young players in the squad given a chance, especially considering that we've got a situation where the A team's been doing really well and there are a number of guys who are really putting their hands up for selection right now.